I could always upload that video to this channel, Bloom.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. Not it's for the fam. It's for the crowd for our community.
Right.
They get it.
It's for the people. We're here for the people.
We are the people. We are the people.
That's right. Okay, let's get this thing rolling.
You got a team, here's a word to the wise. You want to dominate your league? Go to football, guys.
Football, I'm living in a fantasy. Football, got everybody mad at me. Football, cause every game I had to win. Football, I gotta be a champion. Football, I'm living in a fantasy.
Well, you've got to be a champion, and that's why you got to win. You gots to win. And it's the Week 6 preview part 1 here on the Audible. Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Bloom. Thursday night football. You have something else to do? It's Broncos and
Taylor Swift watch.
Hey,
that's what everybody's doing.
Well, Travis Kelce watch. That's on the Chiefs side. We'll get to that in just a little bit. Javonte Williams looks like he's back. Okay. He did look fine last week. They chose not to play him. And they don't play Jaleel enough. It's the same old story, right? We're waiting for Jerry Jeudy, who's just going after everybody on Twitter. Like, he's going after Rod Smith on Twitter. Like, dude, come on. That's Rod Smith. He's a Ring of Fame. Right. So we're waiting for Friday for everybody to start getting traded. But for now, the sacrificial lamb that you take up to the altar at Arrowhead is the Denver Broncos. But there might be some fantasy stuff to mine, Bloom.
Yeah, we'll see. Kansas City's defense has been tough, but at the same time, Russell Wilson, like we talked about, Cecil, if you're going to make the list of what's gone wrong with the 2023 Broncos, Russell Wilson's not high on that list.
No,
he might be someone that you play. See, what I'm interested in, really tuning into my favorite show, the How Is It to Be Cecil Lammey covering the Denver Broncos show, is how are the players going to react? You put it well, and I think any logical, reasonable person would understand, like, the players are on edge. How is it playing for a team when you don't know who's going to be in the locker next to you next week? How is that going to be? That's what I'm going to be watching. What's the mental, emotional, spiritual state of this team? But for fantasy, like you said, Javonte Williams, it looks like the short week he'll be back, which takes some of the fun out of playing Jaleel McLaughlin. We got to really get him a nickname. He doesn't have a nickname yet, right?
No, there's people that are trying too hard.
Yeah.
Trying to work off Jaleel, like the wheel and just speed wheel and speed her. Like, you're not Eminem, right? You're not Eminem.
The wide receivers, it's just too much of a mess. We, like Cecil said, we like Mims if we think the offense is going to run true to its concepts and ideas, which it's going to be hard with Kansas City on the other side. So, watch Jeudy, watch Sutton, see who might get traded. And I guess, Cecil, the last thing I'll toss up to you is Greg Dulcich. I believe they opened up the 21-day window.
He did. I saw him yesterday. I don't think he plays Thursday, but he is close. So it'll be week 7, and Dulcich was a big part of what they were going to do.
Right. So that's
he should have been on the waiver wire. We should have thrown him out 1% or whatever.
Yeah. So revise that if you need a tight end, and maybe not this week, but especially if we're looking at a Broncos passing game going forward. Without one or both of Jeudy and Sutton, Dulcich becomes more interesting.
Oh, how about I play this, Bloom? All right, everybody, here's the moment of truth that you've all been waiting for. Whoa.
Doesn't your audience get mad at you when you say how good the Chiefs are?
I don't know. Chiefs fans don't like me. Nobody likes me. That's fine. I'm in love with myself. I'm in love with Kansas City and Isaiah Pacheco, who it's the ultimate, like, I told you so. Because, well, Pacheco, he could tear it up. You can't stop the run. And motions and shifts. Got to slow down when I say that, especially now YouTube's demonetized us because I said shifts. Oh, that's a naughty word. Our AI has detected that you said a naughty word. Shifts. You moron. Yeah, there's an F in there. Like the F that the Broncos are going to get trying to defend the run. So basically whatever this team does, and even, Clyde Edwards-Helaire comes on the field.
Sure.
right? Like McKinnon, big game. Edwards-Helaire, big game. We're waiting about Travis Kelce. Give us the latest there. Like,
Right.
he's practicing, whatever. Like, we'll see, but like, he'll have a big game. They don't have a number one wide receiver. Doesn't
Who
matter.
cares? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Jacoby Myers tore up this team, right? Like, everyone, Robbie Chosen had a touchdown against this team and a big one against Pat Surtain. But anyway, so like, and I did talk to Pat Surtain yesterday, like motions and shifts. It's complicating when your communication is poor and you're at Arrowhead where it's super loud and you can't hear, and your communication is going to be, you guessed it, poor. But that's going to make you rich if you're a Chiefs fantasy GM.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a nice showcase for the Chiefs offense. All you can eat buffet for fantasy. Isaiah Pacheco has to be in. Jerick McKinnon becomes a what the heck flex. He might touch the ball 3 times and get 2 touchdowns. He's known to do that. Travis Kelce, I think that there's a reasonable position here of, hey, even if he's able to play, you don't need him. Sorry, Denver. You don't really need him to win this game. Maybe you let him rest because it's a short week, but maybe not. As long as he's active, he's in your lineup. If he's not active, we might even look at someone like Noah Gray, who's made some plays downfield. Rashee Rice is the guy that I'm really interested in here, though, because they're talking about him progressing like a rookie. Again, 4th in snaps among the wide receivers, 1st in targets. So when he's out there, Patrick Mahomes looks for him. So if he's out there more, Patrick Mahomes will look for him more, and he looks for him in the red zone. So I think this is a great what the heck flex game for him. And really the what the heck flex threshold, like you said, Robbie Chosen one Anderson, if he's still Anderson's name. The point is he would have hit as a what the heck flex. That's how low you can go. So only 2 teams on bye, and they're not exactly robust offenses, but Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, this might be the week to have them in your lineup. I think there might be some baseball games on Thursday.
Yeah, maybe. That's right. Smash that like button, comment, share, subscribe as we move on. Baltimore and Tennessee in this contest. And we did get a lot of questions about the Baltimore backfield. Like, what do I do? I'm avoiding, like, until we get some sort of clarity drink. Like, I don't want the Baltimore backfield. I do love Zay Flowers. Against Tennessee, we'll see. Like, you should never have been relying on Odell Beckham Jr. Rashad Bateman's always hurt. Mandrews hopefully does something. Like, it's Baltimore. Like, running backs are a mess, and it's kind of questions on everybody else.
You look at this Baltimore team, and they should be 5-0, right? The game they lost to the Colts, the game they lost to the Steelers. There are like 17 ways they could have won and 1 way they could have lost. And the game went the 1 way they could have lost. So how do they respond to this? Having to travel across the ocean. This is a London game. This is an early Sunday game, so make sure you set your lineups before you go to sleep Saturday night. And it is a Tennessee pass defense that is suspect. We did see Lamar Jackson. There are all kinds of stats. He's like 7 drops, 170 yards or something like that. Drops, 2 touchdowns, drops. So does he bounce back with a big game here? You would think so. But that being said, Cecil, if I say Ravens Titans, the Mike Vrabel Titans, street fight. This could be just an ugly game. Ugly in the sense of it's not going to be easy for either offense to do what they want to do, because these are both teams that have a lot of fight in them. But I think that we're going to see Zay Flowers in lineups. Got to have him in lineups. Take 2. Could have been a much bigger game for him. You're seeing the downfield. One of the things that we're seeing, so it's hard to see it from the stats last week, but the downfield passing element, someone put the next gen stats route chart of Zay Flowers like a few weeks ago next to week 5. He's going downfield more. This is what we were looking for, right? It was a conservative pass offense to begin the season under Todd Monken. Now you're opening up some dimensions. So I think you got to leave Zay Flowers in with the Tennessee secondary, of course, suspect. This could be a massive Mark Andrews game. It sure makes sense that Mark Andrews would be the guy that Lamar looks to in a close, again, hard-fought game. The backfield, like you said, Cease, it's a mess. If you're going to place anybody, play Justice Hill. I will say this, Justice Hill's got the juice. You watched Justice Hill last week, and he looks like the best case scenario when we were watching him at Oklahoma State with that straight line burst and acceleration, a little bit of shiftiness, some urgency as a runner. You saw that. So I think he's the guy over Edwards. Remember, this is a tough Tennessee front to move, so it makes sense a lighter back, which maybe can get Keaton Mitchell on the field. He's the Jaleel McLaughlin East, a light back who's got quickness and speed, and add another element to his offense. And we know the element in the Tennessee offense that they want to feature. But the question is, can they do that against the Ravens?
Yeah, our dude Zach in the chat room's like, yep, same story. Let's avoid the Baltimore backfield. Stop trying to make Justice Hill a thing. Mitchell, I'm watching. Mitchell's like my exception to the Baltimore rule, where I'm like, well, I want to put a pin in it. I want to see what's there. What's there with Tennessee is Tyjae Spears. We love King Henry. We love him. He's been awesome. You gotta play more Tajay. It's all D Hop. What are we watching? I saw it reported yesterday. What, Traylon Burks, right? Doing some stuff. Maybe he's out there, and maybe that changes stuff. Right now, it's all DeAndre. It's all Nuke, the guy that blocked Sigmund on Twitter.
That was back in his rookie year. His second half of his rookie year wasn't as good as the first half. He didn't want to hear that, though.
He didn't want to hear that. He's got no time for that. I would love more Chiggy, but right now we're just like, okay, just a little more Spears, maybe against Baltimore. It's a street fight. And when you said street fight, I started thinking about all the Tupac songs. Because someone, I walked into the studio yesterday, they said, how you doing? I said, I ain't had an L since Pac died. So, you know, pretty good day. Interesting day. My key worked. Hey, everybody.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
No, I was thinking about all the, you know, back-to-back boxing and like just kind of defending your friends and fighting and street fight and bloody knuckles, like knuckle up, because get ready. This one's going to be tough.
Oh, yeah. I think this is going to be a very entertaining game to watch. And Ryan Tannehill's a fighter, so he's going to fit right in here. Nuke Hopkins is coming on. And what you like seeing here is that veteran connection where, hey, Tannehill's going to give Hopkins a chance in any kind of coverage. And Hopkins is likely to make the play. Hopkins looked like vintage Nuke. He's got to be in your lineup. Baltimore is not allowed a rushing touchdown yet this year. So will Derrick Henry be the first? Like you said, Cecil, we're looking at Tim Kelly. This has been a Titans offense that is just so set in its ways. Warren Sharp did a good bit on him, on this offense, on Tim Kelly, in this offense, and its predictability, and how even whenever they do things like pass on first down.
Oh my
God. Whoa. It works. That doesn't mean they're going to do it more often. But like you said, I think that the counterpunch here is whenever Baltimore's tough to run on, that means I think Tajay Spears, and you attack them outside, you attack them in space, and you don't take on that strength. And Spears had his first good game. So I think Spears is someone that you break ties in favor of this week. We're waiting on Traylon Burks. I don't think he's going to be fantasy relevant, but we are looking at Traylon Burks as that deep threat, adding that other dimension if he can be out there against this Ravens defense. Yeah, this is like old, Mills Lane. Ding, ding. Let's get it on.
Let's get it on. And Commanders and Falcons is the next game that we're going to talk about here on the Audible. It's part 1 of the Week 6 preview. And the Commanders side of the ball. Boy, I sure wish I was right about Jahan Dotson, but I wasn't. It's so bad. I got a lot of like, I'm Chuck Dean, Jahan Dotson, your guy. I'm like, okay, yeah, fine. I get it. Curtis Samuel was on the waiver report, Bloom. So, like, let's talk about this Commanders team. Atlanta's got a new toy to play with, but right now, let's look through the old toys, right? And that's what you did as a kid, right, Bloom?
Right.
You went to the toy chest. You wanted the new toys. And trust me, I grew up poor, so I always wanted the new toys because I didn't have much. But, like, what I did have, I was like, yeah, I'm going to use those guys. And, well, with the Commanders, this is what you've got. So use them up.
Yeah, I just saw it. Mills Lane. Speaking of old toys, he was the Celebrity Deathmatch referee. Remember, he transitioned. He joined the Ancestors at the end of last year. So rest in peace, Mills Lane. Washington. Yeah, is Jahan Dotson's fantasy value? Are we mourning that? Certainly, this is a game where we look at Washington's pass offense as having some potential for us when we set our lineup. Taking a step back from this game really quick. There's some games this week, Cease. It's typical NFL, right? Like, who are the quote unquote good teams? And this one you have to pause for a second and say, who are the good teams right now? I think Buffalo's a good team. Miami's a good team. I'm pretty sure they're a good team. Baltimore is probably a good team. Kansas City is a good team. Philadelphia is a good team. Dallas is maybe we're not as sure about them. Obviously, San Francisco, they're a good team. So whatever, there's 7, 8, 9 teams that are quote unquote good teams, but there are 14 playoff spots. So there are some teams, I think, now that we're into that middle stretch of the season that are trying to sort out, are we contenders? And I think this Washington-Atlanta game is a good game for one of these teams to make this a springboard, and the other one, it's a stumbling block. And we've seen Sam Howell is going to chuck it no matter what, but to who? Last week it was Logan Thomas and Curtis Samuel, and I think you stick with that when you're setting your lineup. Could this be a Jahan Dotson breakout week? Here's your one argument for that. Terry McLaurin should see a lot of A.J. Terrell. A.J. Terrell will shade the number one receiver, move with the number one receiver, and that makes me think it is potentially a Jahan Dotson game. Is it a Brian Robinson game? You're probably playing him either way because you know the ceiling, multi-touchdowns here, and if they can control this game on the road, he can have a big game. But if Sam Howell digs a hole, this team digs a hole in the first half, then it might not be. We know that even in that scenario, like we had last week, it wasn't an Antonio Gibson game. But really what the fans in Atlanta want to know is which Desmond Riddler, put the question mark on him, Cecil.
Right. Too many questions. By the way, Benjamin says Detroit is a good team too.
Oh gosh.
You didn't mention Detroit, Bloom?
Because I've been just crowing about them so much that I want to let someone else say, like Ben did. Someone else can say Detroit's a good team.
Seeing Klugie's in the chat room. What's up, Dave? What's up in the Springs? I'm actually headed down to the Springs today. Who saw Logan Thomas turning into Travis Kelce in this offense?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the thing. Like Eric Bieniemy and things were said that, hey, Jahan Dotson can be their Tyreek Hill version, and he's their Benny Hill. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a different Hill.
Yeah.
But it ain't Tyreek. That's for sure.
Yeah. So. See, since Dave, what's up, Dave? Kluge. Who saw Logan Thomas turning into Logan Thomas, right? How many years? Remember, he was a Virginia Tech. There were times, how many quarterbacks have we said, oh, this guy could be a number one pick or a top 5 pick? There's so many. Andre Woodson, right? Taj Boyd.
We're talking about one and Sam Howell, like right there. Right. Sam Howell was thought of as the number one, and I'll tell you off air who it is. You might remember who it was. But at the Senior Bowl, when Logan Thomas is throwing passes in the dirt, there's a very well-known draft analyst who I actually like, but listen, I'm not right. I'm just talking about Jahan Dotson, right? Biggest bust of this year.
Right.
But this draft analyst was like, Logan Thomas. I'm like,
no,
can't play. But anyway, so there you go.
He's done it though, and he hung around the league for a while before he reinvented.
That's why I love Tyree Jackson. I was like, Tyree Jackson should be Logan Thomas.
Yeah, he can't. More athletic. He's a more athletic Logan Thomas. But I think Logan Thomas is showing that he can do it. Now on the Desmond Ritter side, it seems like when he's backed into a corner. And see, did I give you a chance to tee up Washington? I mean, Atlanta. Do you want to?
No. Let's go, baby. Let's go. It's go time. Yeah.
So on paper, you saw Justin Fields. You saw what he did against Washington last week, like in the first half. You saw what DJ Moore did. On paper, you would think Desmond Ritter to Drake London, Desmond Ritter to Kyle Pitts. Yes. Cole Kmet had a touchdown last week. No, is it Jonnu Smith who gets a touchdown? Jonnu Smith, I think you play Pitts over Smith, but if you need a tight end this week, you may look at Smith. And then remember, this team also traded for Van Jefferson. I like that. Why not? I mean,
he's not good.
Well, they swapped a 6 for a 7th.
It's a 7th. Yeah, it's a 7th.
And most of his,
and all this, also, why not Bloom? And let's get into this because unless Taylor Heineke gets in there, they don't use their flipping wide receivers have.
Right.
But Drake London is a stud. Right? Like Michael Pittman type stud. You need to throw it. You need to feature him. You need to focus on him. And Atlanta's like, oh, no.
That's fair. But look, again, who do they have at wide receiver after Drake London and Mac Hollins? Nobody. So
Frank Darby still kicking around.
I don't even know if he's still on the roster. Josh Ali, he's been banged up. So the point is that this is depth at a position where at least you know that Jefferson's been around and can play. And is this maybe a Tyler Algier game? I think that I wouldn't say it's crazy in DFS or in deeper leagues to plug Algier in if you think Atlanta can control this game. Look, Chicago. Sees how long it had been since Chicago had won last week? Was it a year? Over a year? About a year, right?
Yes.
It had been about a year, a calendar year since Chicago had won a game. And they dominated this Washington team in Washington, mind you. So maybe Atlanta could do the same. That would be a good game script for Tyler Algier.
A good game script for Minnesota and Chicago. There's some hot Bears talk. Oh, boy. Okay, so Minnesota side. Kirk Cousins, like, does someone want Kirk Cousins? No Justin Jefferson. That I don't even want to talk about it. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, I need some time as a Justin Jefferson fantasy GM. Like, I need some time. I don't want to more Jordan Addison. Yeah, okay. More KJ Osborne. Sure. TJ Hawkinson. All right. It still hurts, Bloom. It hurts.
Yeah.
And well, Minnesota might be in the same position that the Broncos are in. Like,
Right.
you lose this one, you start trading away people, and they might actually get someone to bite on their quarterback. Although
Right.
Kirk Cousins, no trade, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. But it's the plot thickens, the storylines. And I think from a fantasy perspective, when we look at this game, on one side, you have it's the Chicago defense. Play everybody against Chicago. On the other hand, how much easier is it to defend this Minnesota offense if Justin Jefferson's not out there? Well, we're going to find out. Or maybe not. Maybe Chicago's defense is just that soft, although we saw them have a pretty good half against Washington. Jordan Addison has to be in your lineup. I think KJ Osborne's in your lineup. I'm not, there's no shutdown corner. I mean, KJ Osborne goes into a full-time role here in Justin Jefferson's spot. It's possible that we could see KJ Osborne have like 9 for 102 touchdowns in this one easily, or maybe 130 and 2 touchdowns. We're going to see him audition in this one. I think he probably is in your lineup too. Alexander Mattison, again, if you think that even without Justin Jefferson, Minnesota can impose their will on the Chicago defense, then I think Madison's in. But know that he only played about half of the snaps last week, and Cam Akers could be coming on. Cousins, again, depends on your options. You see a path to a big game here because it's Chicago's offense. You also see a game where we say, geez, it's going to be really hard on Kirk Cousins without Justin Jefferson. And then sees where this feeds into is the Kirk Cousins trade meter and the Justin Jefferson, is he going to come back meter? Because these things are all tied together. If the team starts to really nosedive and they trade Cousins, then what incentive is there for Justin Jefferson to come back this year? So you're rooting, if you have Justin Jefferson, you're rooting for Minnesota in this one. And TJ Hawkinson, he might catch 13. This might be 13 for 105. I mean, maybe the answer is he just throws to TJ Hawkinson like every other passing play. So he has got to be in your lineup. He could end up being the biggest winner of all from the Justin Jefferson injury. But in the end, we're all losers when Justin Jefferson's not playing.
That's right. Oh, man. And when the Chicago Bears are playing, they're mostly losers, but they're one is
losers
a streak.
with draft picks.
I remember somebody, I don't want to make fun, but somebody in the Broncos locker room, one of the players is like, one's a streak. What?
Hey, t-shirts, print up the t-shirts.
What's a streak? All right, we're going streaking, says the Bears. And well, the backfield now has some questions, Bloom. So hopefully we have some answers. And we'll see at home if they can make 1 into 2, which would be a streak.
Right. That would be a streak. I mean, 1 is a streak. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with 1 step, Cecil. So Justin Fields has to stay in your lineup, right? This is that streak of middling to poor defenses that's going to get him going. You know, we'll see what happens when he runs into some tough defenses. This is not one. Although, hey, Minnesota did in afternoon game with Kansas City coming to town. Minnesota's defense did summon up some effort, didn't result in a win. We're watching Roschon Johnson coming off the concussion. He has 3 extra days to clear concussion protocol. If he's on track to play, this becomes a committee, and both he and Dante Foreman are more what the heck flex plays. And the thing is, you can't even say, well, Dante Foreman's going to get the rushing touchdowns because Roschon Johnson's a good short yardage runner in his own right. So it'll be interesting. Again, this coaching staff was playing the rookie Johnson over the veteran Foreman earlier this year. So if Johnson's good to go, then I think maybe saying they're both what the heck flexes could end up dampening the spirit of folks wanting to play Roschon Johnson, and maybe Roschon Johnson has a breakout game in this one. But if Johnson can't play, Dante Foreman moves up to running back 2. And then there's DJ Moore. Woo. DJ Moore league winner? DJ Moore league winner? He's on his way.
Mm-hmm.
He's on his way. And the thing is, when you see now what he can do, he's changing potentially the destiny of this team, right? See, we can put aside Justin Fields and how much Justin Fields' skill set can develop as a passer, okay? Because if DJ Moore is playing like this on the other end of the passes, you got to stick with Justin Fields, right? DJ Moore actually is the rudder of this offense when he's playing the way that he is right now. And certainly if you took that chance on him saying, yeah, it's a low volume pass offense. Yeah, it's Justin Fields. But DJ Moore can play and just give him something, anything at quarterback. Look what we've got here.
Yeah, look what you've got when you check out the show, the chat room, all of my hand signals to your or facial expressions to your chat comments. So make sure to show up. If you're listening to the audio version, first off, thanks. We've been doing this since 2006. It's our 18th season of the Audible, and we appreciate you. Been on YouTube for a minute, growing our YouTube channel like gangbusters. Thanks to you doing the like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. And we appreciate each and every one of you. We want to support the show. We don't do any silly super chats. So pay me to say something. No, you got a good comment? We'll read your comment on the air, baby. That's what we do. That's what we do. So check out footballguys.com if you want to support the show. Subscribe to footballguys.com or sign up for that free daily newsletter with takes written by me, Sigmund Bloom, Joe Bryant. Hell of a trio. Sorry, Joe. On to the next one, as Jay-Z would say. On to the next one, Seattle and Cincinnati in this one. The Cincinnati side's much more interesting, Bloom, but Seattle, like, we're still kind of waiting for things to really get going, specifically with Jackson Smith and Jigba. But how are you approaching your Zach Charbonnet decision this week against the Bengals?
Yeah, I think mentioning the two rookies right off the bat is good because we're looking at a team coming out of a bye with Seattle. Now, remember, Geno Smith got a little banged up going into the bye, too. So we're going to watch the practice reports. Cincinnati's defense, for the most part, a good defense. Certainly a good pass defense. And you would expect a big dose of Kenneth Walker, who's rested, ready to go in this one. And you still are going to play DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, but it is a good pass defense. Maybe you're lowering expectations. But you want to see how is Zach Charbonnet used. Still, he's just a low what the heck flex because it's more game script dependent. You don't expect Seattle to be able to put the lean on Cincinnati, especially traveling east in an early game. And then Jackson Smith and Jigba. And he hasn't been playing well. He's affirmatively not playing well. He's not earning more playing time. He's not doing things to say he deserves a larger role. Can they get some of these things straightened out? Or do you regroup around two tight end sets, right? Will Dissly should be healthier coming out of the bye. Noah Fant should be healthier coming out of the bye. Colby Parkinson, they like Colby Parkinson. Colby Parkinson is still coming into his own. Does it just make sense, even though they spend the pick on Jackson Smith and Jigba, who falls all the way to number 20, maybe they didn't even expect him to be there, and say, well, this is an offense that's, at least for now, going to function better as a two tight end offense. I think that's rational. I think that's actually probably true right now. So we're going to watch that, especially against a Cincinnati defense that, again, is very good against the pass, and now a Cincinnati offense that is very good when they pass.
Well, and here's the thing for what it says about Jackson. Buy low in Dynasty, because Geno, he still has the support of the franchise, the people in the building, and his quarterback. So it's coming. Like, how do you work now? How do you win now? It's win now league, but okay, it's coming with the kid. Cincinnati side, now with more Joe Burrow, with better Joe Burrow, with exciting Joe Burrow. Okay, I guess we're still waiting. It's Wednesday morning, whenever you're listening. Hi, we're waiting on the practice status. What's going on with the Bengals receivers? Okay, whatever. But is Burrow trending in the right direction? One's a trend. One's a streak.
One's a streak, yeah. Yeah, and you have don't forget Cincinnati. And this is great. You have a bye next week, right? So, Cease, again, it's the journey. It's teams, fantasy teams, NFL teams having to just keep troopering on, going forward, even if it's a slow pace, depending on things that are happening, right? This is like when you get the wagon train going to take the Oregon Trail, and like the first day, Joe Burrow gets bit by a rattlesnake. Well, got to keep going. Now it seems like his body has fought off the rattlesnake venom, and now we can really start to move. And certainly you're going to start everybody in this offense with that in mind. For Joe Burrow's back in your lineup. Joe Mixon, you're not hesitating to play him now. And of course, Chase. Now, the other thing that I'm going to be interested to see here, Cease, Devin Witherspoon. My, oh my. Not a lot of people are talking about this. Go back and watch Devin Witherspoon. Remember, was banged up, didn't really start the season with the team on the field. Finally made his debut, and he's impacting games. And now, Cease, you can see, go back to the Legion of Boom, right? Gus Bradley, right? Imagine giving him these two, because you got Reek Woolen also. You got these two long, fast, aggressive corners.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How's that going to play? We're going to watch Chase. So we have a Bengals deep offense that is gaining momentum now because of Joe Burrow, but we have a Seattle defense that can really play the way they want to play with these outside corners. Maybe is that a game where we see more passing to the middle of the field? Tyler Boyd, Trenton Irwin. We'll see if T. Higgins is back. There's a chance he'll be back. Not a tight end. Herb Smith hasn't really worked out. So, it's possible that we could say, hey, Joe Burrow's back. Joe Burrow's over his calf. But also, now that Seattle has these two long, fast, aggressive corners, they understand that everything's going to they're going to really push everything to the middle of the field. They're going to be able to know that you're not going to throw downfield. You're not going to be able to, they're going to disrupt receivers. They're going to win at the catch point. And this is fun. This is a really fun matchup. And it's especially fun, Cease, because Joe Burrow looks like Joe Burrow again.
Yes. Thank the maker, as C-3PO would say. And then I've got a bad feeling about this, who everybody says in Star Wars, because it's the 49ers and it's the Browns. And if you're a Browns fan, well, that's where the bad feeling comes in. If you're a 49ers fan, it's like, okay, who's healthy? Who's going to go off? It's big George Kittle day. Like, yeah, they'll do whatever they want on the road against Cleveland. Your confidence level should be high in your 49ers.
Oh, yeah. Cease, can you do an honest power rank right now and not have San Fran number one? Is there any argument that San Fran's not number one?
No, they're number one.
They're number one. Now things change. This is your number one team. This is your team. Again, look at Dallas. Dallas, we thought it was a quote-unquote good team, and they were humiliated. They were humiliated to the extent, Cease, and we'll talk about this when we get to the Dallas game in part 2. They were humiliated to the extent of it's a gut check game now against the Chargers on Monday night. It's a gut check game. That's how bad San Francisco can beat teams, that they make you say, how are you going to respond to this? How are you going to respond to having your face rubbed in it? So yeah, they can do that to anybody in any given game on offense and on defense. So you've given Jim Schwartz 2 weeks. See, everyone talks about, I'm scared to face Miami. Oh, how do you sleep when you're facing Miami? How about San Fran? How do you prepare as a defensive coordinator for San Francisco? How do you do when you have 2 weeks? You've got Myles Garrett, etc. But I don't know. Brock Purdy, he's a low ceiling quarterback 1, but a high floor quarterback 1. You've got Ayuk. You've got Samuel, who's healthy. You've got Kittle, who just scored 3 touchdowns. Oh, yeah, Christian McCaffrey. So will this be such a tough defense? Maybe not. Everyone's in your lineup here. And it is a team traveling east, 1 p.m. Eastern start, et cetera. But it also is a team, Cease, that might not have to face Deshaun Watson.
That's correct, sir. And motions and shifts. This is the response to the Fangio 6, which has taken the league by storm. All Mike McDaniel did, and Kyle Shanahan does it too, and so does McVay. All the Shanahan disciples, all they do is like, all right, you're going to play split field coverage, or you're going to do a shell. You're going to do the Fangio 6. You're going to make us dink and dunk. No, you're not. because right before the snap, we're going to put you in motion, and speed, that spacing that speed creates off the snap, you can't react enough. Basically, you have strong side, weak side. You've got a square or rectangle, tip to be square on the strong side of defenders. After the front four, you've got 4 defenders to cover that area. On the other side, you have a triangle to defenders. You have 3. Motion over to the side with 3. Now you've got a numbers game. It's math. It's science. It's beautiful, man. And I'm talking about this because I don't want to talk about the Browns. It's PJ Walker starting potentially again Wednesday morning. If Deshaun Watson doesn't play, then you're going to get PJ Walker, not Dorian Thompson-Robinson, because DTR with the 3 picks.
Yeah.
Team doesn't want to see that again. Walker started 7 games, I think 5 of them last year. He's okay. He works out in Colorado. I like PJ, but like, you know, it's not great when you're going to PJ Walker as your quarterback.
No. Real quick, see, since you mentioned it, what's the Fangio 6?
The Fangio 6 is in the backfield, like spreading across the defensive backfield, like basically big nickel.
Yeah. And and like you said, Cease, what you do is you change the terms of engagement right before the snap, and that is tough to deal
Well,
with.
look at what the 49ers do. That, and I hate to belabor this, but the 49ers will start in I. So it's a power formation. So you're heavy. It's the declaration of influence. That's what this whole game is about. I'm going to influence you. So they start in I, and then they motion like use check wide or McCaffrey wide. Now you're a 5 wide look. So you start
right
in I. You declare power. As soon as the defense sets, you shift. Now you're 5 wide.
Yeah. And most of all, what it creates, Cease, and I here's a really overly simplistic way of looking at this, right? What you want as an offensive coordinator is, as the ball's being snapped, you want defenders thinking, what am I supposed to be doing right now? Right? Because just that half a beat of hesitation is enough in the NFL.
Yep.
More than enough.
That's it.
More than enough. You just want them thinking. You want them in their head instead of ready to react. And San Francisco's so good at that. Cleveland, the Deshaun Watson thing is worrisome. You know, he had a bye just because he took a hit as a runner. Now they're saying a rotator cuff. And I think this could be one of those situations, Cease, where we saw Deshaun Watson and the poor Browns, right? The Browns, the Jets. It's always the same teams with the tragedies. Because this team, yeah, the Steelers gave them a black eye, but this team was looking like they've got a recipe going into the season. Deshaun Watson was trying to play better. Nick Chubb, defense. Jim Schwartz had it figured out. Now you're looking at, you just don't want to get humiliated, and that's going to be hard to do if Deshaun Watson not out there. It's going to be hard to start Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, David Njoku if Deshaun Watson's out there. Maybe even if Deshaun Watson is, because it might be one of those situations where you're saying, well, what gives us a better chance to win? Deshaun Watson, who, if he can only throw the ball 15 yards downfield, or PJ Walker? The answer might be Deshaun Watson, only throwing the ball 15 yards downfield with that rotator cuff issue. I'll tell you who could benefit from that is Jerome Ford. You could see Jerome Ford getting 5, 6, 7, 8 catches and giving you a cheap hit in PPR leagues. Although maybe Kareem Hunt with a week off, etc. He looks pretty used up. I think Jerome Ford is probably the safest play in this offense if it is PJ Walker. But if it is PJ Walker, this is going to be a tough game for them to keep close.
This show has to be so weird if you're new. Because you show up, you're like, why do you keep showing Vic Fangio's face on the screen? Not just a little bit, but every day.
Every minute.
Every day. And then I was thinking, man, I wish Vic knew we did this. Like, it's an homage to Vic. But he didn't even know what Toy Story was. When
Good
Drew
for
Lock
him.
did the whole Buzz Lightyear thing, and he's like, who's this, a Buzz Lightyear beer?
Right.
What? Every day? Like,
Did he play for the Titans?
So you try to explain a podcast or even YouTube to Vic Fangio.
Right.
You know, he'd stare at you.
We love you. Hall of Famer, Vic Fangio, Hall of Famer?
Yeah, for sure.
Hall of Famer.
For sure, yeah. We get these defensive coaches, like the Dick LeBeaus, and which, by the way, he was involved in that as well, like zone blitzing when that became the thing. And it's like, I'm going to drop that defensive tackle into coverage. Like, what? Oh, my God.
Casey Hampton.
Look out. I was thinking Joel Steed.
Joel Steed.
Got
good.
CU on the brain. Got Dion on the brain. What is it? Oh boy. Oh my God. Carolina and Miami
geez.
is up next. Let's get through the Carolina
Yeah,
side.
right.
Because the Miami side could be quite robust, although with Achane out of action.
Yeah.
We'll continue that conversation. But let's do Carolina first, and then
Right.
Miami.
Right. Bryce Young had a garbage time bonanza last week. Could be again. Adam Thielen's got to be in because of that. This backfield's a mess. Miles Sanders isn't healthy. It's a two-headed backfield on an offense that can't get anything done. DJ Chark, deep what the heck flex. Garbage time again. Is this team getting a wide receiver? Cortland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy? Tune in Friday for the follow-up. And Chicago owns their first round pick. I feel like I have to say that every time we preview Carolina and every time we recap Carolina. Chicago owns their first round pick. And yeah, this is going to be an exhibition for Miami and for Carolina. Cecil, it's so fascinating, right? You've got two owners who lean in way too much. You've got two owners who can't keep their hands out of the cookie jar when it comes to influencing football decisions. One in Carolina that you're seeing now, it's starting to crack. Frank Reich, bless his heart, saying, yeah, he likes to engage. The other, Stephen Ross, this team is the talk of the NFL precisely because his plan didn't happen. Precisely because the Dolphins have Mike McDaniel and Tua instead of Tom Brady and Sean Payton.
Isn't that a lesson from the universe?
Yep.
I mean, it should be.
Right.
I doubt Stephen Ross would listen because when you're a billionaire, you do everything right. Uncle Ted. Hi, Uncle Ted. He says Dalton needs to be starting. And here's the thing. I love Bryce Young. I love him. Although I almost call him Bryce Love all the time. Too many Bryces. Well, maybe not enough Bryces. But anyway, Carson Palmer's set for a year behind John Kitna. It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay. Oh boy. Sorry, Joe. You're flipping ruining him. You have the potential to ruin a young man's confidence. And confidence in this game full of alpha males, right? They're the greatest of all time. Everyone tells them how great they are all the time. But when you're not playing well, and I hope it doesn't infect his mind, but should Dalton be starting? Yes. Could he have started at the beginning? Right. Hey, we love the rookie, but we want to work it. And then Dalton starts first 5 games. Now you're transitioning to Bryce, right? Again, Carolina, Tepper. I got in trouble for this, Bloom, when I called Paxton Lynch a moron on the air. And my program director called me. He's like, don't be personal. You can attack their game, but don't be personal. I was like, okay. He's not the brightest bulb. Anyway. And then he unfriended me on Xbox. But anyway, Dave Tepper's a moron. Absolute moron. And you have a great quarterback. All the fun you're seeing with CJ Stroud, right? All the beautiful, wonderful things you're seeing in Houston, because that's working. With Young, it's not working. So now is the wrong time to bench him. But you should have approached this differently. And I've always said it, when you can't, number 1 overall, you can't sit. Carson Palmer did behind John Kitna, who wasn't great. So there's that. What's best, not to sound like Lumberg from Office Space, what's best for the company? What's best for the Panthers? Young working out. That's what's best. And perhaps what's best, or what should have been best, is for that young man to sit until he was ready. Because to quote Kevin Hart, he wasn't ready.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Miami, Bloom,
Yeah.
and the running back situation everyone is talking about.
Yeah. Raheem Mostert has to be in, and we'll see. Salvin Ahmed was a healthy scratch. Is he the number 2? Is Chris Brooks the UDFA? Number 2 is Jeff Wilson, who had that 21-day practice window open off of injured reserve. Is he the number 2? We watch and we learn. And poor Carolina's defense is weary as it is. They just had to face Detroit. Now they're going to have to face another offense, by the way, that does a lot of making you think as the ball is snapped. You're not necessarily thinking, Cease, when you're facing Miami. You are just in that fear part of your brain with Tyreek Hill out there, and Jalen Waddle is due for a big game. And yeah, this one's going to be an exhibition.
Yeah, going to be an exhibition, and everyone throw a dart. throw a dart at the running backs and see which speed guy shows up because it's all about speed. Didn't they sign Jake Funk, right?
Right. Bring the
Yeah.
fun.
So Jake Funk is now there. It's like, hey, can you run really fast in a straight line? We got you. We got you. Anthony got a signed John Kitna card.
Oh, he
That's
ruined the
more
Steelers.
exciting. Yeah, I know.
That was whenever
that gave the clue to Bill Belichick. I've always said that in the week 16 or whatever it was in the last game of the season when John Kitna threw for like 500 yards against the Steelers, speaking of zone blitz bloom, that dominating defense. And then on the way to Super Bowl 36, Belichick saw what the Bengals did in the final game. It doesn't matter. Final game doesn't matter.
Yeah,
No, John Kitna exposed the Steelers and kept them from another Super Bowl.
Still hurts.
John Kitna did that. So
Still hurts. Still hurts.
That's more exciting than Indy and Jacksonville. Although with Gardner Minshew, is it just kind of exciting? Like trailer park exciting, you know?
It's compelling. Gardner Minshew as a character. Cease. Again, just that Gardner Minshew is a character in the grand NFL story in and of itself is something we should celebrate every week.
Yeah, we should celebrate that. And now we've got Z asking, should Jonathan Taylor be started this week?
See, again, I'll say this is kind of exciting because it's a first place showdown, 3-2 teams, and it's a rematch. Week 6, and we're already getting some divisional rematches. And we saw in this game first time around, well, it was Anthony Richardson until the very end. I think Gardner Minshew came in late in that one. And now we're seeing this team is actually a pretty good team with Gardner Minshew. Pretty good. Not something that we spend a lot of time on in waiver wire, in the preseason watch list. But teams that do a good job with their backup quarterback situation often are rewarded or not punished by the football gods. And this one, Shane Steichen and company, they got this one right. And Minshew is going to give this Jacksonville team a lot to think about in the passing game. Josh Downs, Michael Pittman. Not saying to play a tight end, but let's watch and see if there's some value there for Kylan Granson or someone like that. But I do think you're going to see with Moss and Taylor, you're going to see a split. Moss is not going away. And this is a good Jacksonville run defense. And I think Shane Steichen is on that list, pretty short list. We talked about this with Tim Kelly in Tennessee. Like, are you actually going to see how your offense matches up best against your opponent, your opposing defense? I trust Shane Steichen to do that. I do. And I think that means we're going to see Minshew throw the ball like 40 times in this one and not enough rush attempts for Moss or Taylor to be a good play unless it's through rushing touchdowns. And on the other side of the ball, remember, this was the game that Trevor Lawrence looked good in week 1. Trevor Lawrence, like, here we go, breakout season for this offense. Do they just pick up where they left off?
Is Gardner Minshew the new John Kitna? If you had John Kitna on your Audible bingo card today, well, congratulations, you won. But
Right.
Lester, one of our favorites, you're all our favorites, but Lester, the chat room's like, yeah, John Kitna was one of those guys that go crazy once in a while.
Yeah.
Gardner Minshew's one of those guys that go crazy. K1's our dude. He's like, yeah, Minshew was pretty trash last year. Yeah, that's not untrue.
No.
But again, I'll quote Wesley Snipes, and I'll say sorry, Joe, before I do. Sun shines on a dog's ass every now and again. Like, okay, yeah, maybe this is it. This is it.
Kenny Loggins, get some yacht rock. Go right from was it White Men Can't Jump? You were quoting. Go right from that. And now if you would have went from New Jack City to Kenny Loggins, now that would have been Sticking the Landing.
Yes. That's such a great movie, man. There were so many. That was like a window, right? Mm-hmm. Like Boys in the Hood, Juice, Colors.
Juice. I was just thinking about
New Jack City.
Yep.
Like there were so many. There was this window of great movies. Like we just don't get that anymore. No. Oh yeah, Jacksonville side.
Right.
Hey, let's talk Trevor Lawrence, everybody. And can Travis Etienne? I'll quote Martin Lawrence. Can you do what you did earlier, please? Like, okay, can you do that again? We'll see. We're watching those wide receivers. What's our Zay Jones practice report like?
Right.
Is Zay Jones the key? Like legit.
Seems like it. Yeah.
Is Zay Jones the key?
Mm-hmm. right? Not for fantasy, but when he's on the field, this pass offense does a lot better.
Right.
He had a touchdown, came out with a knee a little banged up. But again, Lawrence had a really good game in week 1 against this defense. And I think you got to play Trevor Lawrence this week. I think that Travis Etienne, he's red hot. Remember, he had the touchdown to finish off the win in week 1 against this team. He's in. Ridley, we already know nobody in this Colts defense can check Calvin Ridley. He's in. Kirk, he's in. He had a rough game in week 1, but with Zay Jones a little banged up, again, with this offense working well. And hey, if Kirk is a dud again, maybe we should have seen it coming, but we see what his ceiling can be. We can't trust Zay Jones, but if we're seeing that he's on track to play, that gives you even more fuel for the Trevor Lawrence fire. Maybe you back off of Christian Kirk, but I just think nobody's team is stacked enough that they have someone they can confidently play over Christian Kirk. But I am confident that the team that wins this game will be in first place.
I am confident that. Well, I don't know. What am I confident in? I'm confident we're going to get dumped on this winter. Like the leaves have changed and the weather is turning in Colorado, Bloom. So I will be bundled up. Where's my Rasta beanie at? Bloom, you have to get a Rasta beanie. How about I not get a Rasta beanie?
That's my line of Judah there. I've got my Rasta bucket hat on.
You could wear a Rasta beanie in New Orleans. I know you'd sweat your balls off.
I have the dreads. I feel like unless I really let my hair dread, unless I really, then I'm kind of a poser. But I'm kind of a poser anyway, so just embrace it.
It's an homage. It's an homage. Like
turn into the skid. Yeah.
And you know me as my work husband. Bloom, me wearing a Rasta hat? Like seriously?
Yeah.
Like it's an homage, right?
Yeah.
So I don't have dreads. I do have some hair that needs some managing, but like no, Rasta beanie.
I like it. Anything that's knit, really, like we should all wear more things that are knit, right?
We should all. Avery is knitting a blanket right now.
That's fantastic. Knitting is great. It's very, very therapeutic. And Kate, love of my life, her mother loves to knit, and she has sent blankets for everybody in the house, including the cats. And the cats know which blanket is theirs, and they sit on their blanket very proudly. This is my blanket, and they make biscuits on it, put their little fear gnomes in it, and knitting is good. Knitting represents love.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. By the way, if we're going to talk about windows of movies, and certainly on a different, I don't know, scope, because like New Jack City, Colors, these are movies that I hold in very high regard. But I still love and quote almost every day, message, don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's all in there. It's definitely all in there.
Do we have a problem? Man, I need some directions, man.
Yeah.
I cannot finish that quote, or else Joe Bryant would be like, "Hey, buddy, can we stop with the getting directions?"
You don't have to do the whole quote.
If you know, you know. Are we done today? Is a wrap? Is it good?
8 games, 7 tomorrow, which gives us extra room.
And well, what the heck flex tomorrow as well, right?
Yeah.
Right. We're going to talk about here. I got some iced tea movies, right? There we go. See, we get to the silly part of the show, Bloom. That's when we know it's time to wrap.
Right.
Well, I mean, I guess we're silly all the way through. I guess we're just a weird show, which is fun.
We're a real show. We're real human beings. I want to go back.
We're not trying to formulate anything. I won't take any shots publicly. But like, we're just talking football, man. We're just talking ball, and we're being ourselves. And that's the true. Because I get a lot of young people, because again, I'm old. I get a lot of people. How do I make it? And how do I do what you do? Be authentic. So if you're weird, baby, yeah, I'm weird.
We're all weird.
Yeah, we're all weird in our own ways.
Let it go.
But you can't fake it. You can't. I mean, maybe you can to a certain degree. But it's like there's no formula for this, right? And then I'm going to be ass crack and ball sack. Like there's no formula for that. Get on camera, be yourself. I got a buddy of mine who's doing, and I'll shout him out, Blake Maxwell, who's a big fantasy player. Had Dallas Goedert go off for him last week. So good job, Blake. He's doing his Blake takes, right? And he's asked me for years, like, what do I do? What do I do? I was like, get on camera. Go, do it. So now he's doing like little Broncos updates. It's fantastic, man. It's like, yeah. And you build an audience, you build traction, you be authentic. He's a huge Broncos fan. He's not having a real good time, Bloom. But He's putting it out there.
Yeah.
Because the holy trinity of life are thoughts, emotions, and actions, the spiritual, the masculine, the feminine, those three energies. But the key is the generative principle. It is action. You can talk about it, you can think about it, but you better do it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go do it. So
Right.
whatever you want to do in life. I just I'll do another shout out, Bloom, since we're at the end of the show. And if you have to go, brother, please let me know.
No, this is good. I'm just
I'm gonna
watching that
shout
clock.
out.
The producer of the show gets very mad if we go over an hour.
I know. I'm gonna shout out Ivan Gonzalez because yesterday I got a notification from my website, smokeandguncomics.com. It's like, hey, you made a sale. I'm like, oh, well, that doesn't happen that often. But it's like, yeah, dude went, I think I tweeted or something about my comic book website. Like, hey, everybody follow me because I'm trying to build that audience, right? What do I want to do? I want to be a creative in that. I've got 8 different IPs, blah, blah, blah. To have that notification to now this morning, you notice I'm up early this morning, Bloom, even though I was
Yeah.
late. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Why? Is because I'm packing up comic books that I sold of my own creation. Like, so thank you for buying Sue Immortal or supporting Death Support. I've got some pint glasses coming in of my comic books. Like, it's flipping awesome. But thoughts, emotions, and actions. You must have action. It doesn't work unless you take action.
Yeah. And I'll remember my father, Sigmund L. I hope you're finding some peace somewhere, Dad. We just passed the year anniversary of him transitioning, joining the ancestors. And I remember back when I was a kid, he would say, oh, I don't know about these commercials and these sneakers and things, but just do it. That's good. That's good. Just do it. Yes, just do it. Just do it. And Cecil, you've been a really inspiring and a great a role model in that. I can't remember who said this, but there's a quote out there, something to the effect of, the meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to share your gift. Yeah, there's where the action comes in. And I think just to piggyback on what you were saying about what do you do? How do you build an audience? It's like dating, but you're on a date with life or the universe. And whatever you do on that date is, if you go out and you pretend to be somebody else and it works, that's not necessarily a W, because you have to continue to pretend to be that person to stay in that relationship. So when you're yourself, then you're going to curate naturally a life that is good for you when you're authentic, your authentic self. So the reward is already built in when you're true to yourself. And if you put yourself out in the universe, something will come back. It may not be the specific thing you're wishing for, but it will be there. It will arrive on your doorstep, and you follow that golden thread, and it may lead to Cecil and Sigmund. What did Adam Schefter say? That's not something I've ever said before. And hopefully we put each other in a better mood. We keep each other company. We help each other stave off that lonely feeling that we have as we go through this life, because we're together in how alone we are, and that can bring us back together.
I wonder if next week this will work. All right, everybody, here's the moment of truth that you've all been waiting for. Whoa. All right, peace out, everybody. We're Crunchy. See you later. He's Sigmund, I'm Cecil. We're the Audible. Stay tuned. And would you please stay frosty?